First question's over here in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And the question here is, let's see here. In verse 51 and 52, it says, Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we should be changed. And the question here, why does he say it the way he says it here when he says the last trump? And believe it or not, he's not talking about Donald Trump in the last Trump. Let's get that out of the way here before we get started any farther. Believe it or not, I've heard that. I know, I'm just telling you, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now, this is a good question because you get to learn how some things get defined in the Bible. Turn over to Revelation 4. Now, you read this here, the last trump. And the obvious good question is, what is the last trump? Why the last trump? What is it dealing with? The answer to that, or the way to begin to answer that, is found over there in Revelation chapter 4. And this is where it gets defined for you, and then we can move it out from there. Now, here's your definitive verse on this. And this is what you want to find when you get something like that, and then you want to find out where it's at. And he says in 4:1, After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. Now that is your definitive verse on what the trump or the trumpet is. It's the voice of God. So once you understand that, then you come back to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. It says the last trump. And so now what you have here, this will be the last time God speaks to the church when the church is taken out. Now, you can go back through the New Testament, and I would say the first time that God speaks is in Matthew 17, where the voice of God says, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased, hear ye him. The next time, I think, I'm just getting off the top of my head here, would be in Acts chapter 9, where he speaks to Paul at his conversion. Obviously, the main voice of God would be when he spoke to man through the Word of God, and he gave him the Word of God. So you're going to find that in the Old Testament, you find a set of trumpets for the Old Testament, and then you find the trump in the New Testament. The trumpets in the Old Testament are for the regathering of the nation of Israel. Whenever they wanted to gather all of the tribes together, they blew the ram's horns, which was the signal for them to gather. At the same time, you're going to find that the trumpet is likened to Israel being gathered together for the second coming of Christ. So there's a set of trumpets within the nation of Israel, and then there's the trump of God, which is in the church age. Now, the only place that you find it called a trumpet is in here in 1 Corinthians 15:52 and then Revelation 4:1. But that shows you that the trump or the trumpet is the voice of God. So however you want to apply that, if you go back, it says the last trump. So if you're going to find the voice of God before that, then the ones that I gave you, Matthew 17, Acts 9, and of course the Word of God, which is the very voice of God to us. You have those. So that's how you deal with it. That's how you, when you look at it and you see it, you see the last trump. It's the last trump of the church age that triggers the rapture, but it's called the last trump because that's the last time God speaks to the church. So that's what you have with that. And, it's one of those things where you have to go get the verse defined, and then you can begin to see how it plays out.